on our progress as a country and our individual accomplishments together as a people and as a family. This morning, I would ask how chilly the situation is or how chilly the weather is. What is your comfort go-to chilly food? I mean, for some of us, even though it's it's about, I think, a few minutes after 7 o'clock, we've already had a heavy breakfast. So what's your chilly go-to food this morning? Well, as you're thinking of that also, this morning we'll focus on the key discussions and action items that will propel us forward. First, we will look at what has been trending this week. And so for starters, how is the rebound of the economy affecting your pocket when you go shopping, as proclaimed by the finance minister during the presentation of the mid-year budget? And are we likely to see inflation hitting single digits by close of year, with the CD continuing to appreciate against major trading currencies? We will crunch on these numbers and chew on all the jargons that were presented in Parliament a few days ago. Also, the Auditor General's report reveals a disturbing trend of financial irregularities worth about 18.4 billion Ghana cedis, recorded mainly in 2024, which is largely attributed to the Ministry of Energy, now known as the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition. Why do these irregularities continue to persist despite the stringent rules that have been put in place? Is it an issue of enforcement? Or is it the case that the figures that are being raised are in doubt? What critical questions do we need to ask? Is it about accountability? Or is our inability to be disciplined with the fiscal space as public sector workers? We also will find out what the Auditor General's decision to discontinue the case against Dr. Kwabena Dufo and 7 others. What does it mean? It has sparked a lot of debate, with many questioning the convincingness of the reasons behind this move. So whatever your chilly go-to food is this morning, grab it. If it's a tea, it's a hot cup of chocolate. Be my guest this morning on Current Agenda as we go into these issues. We'll be right back after this break.
As a Vice President of the Chartered Institute of Marketing Ghana, I am thrilled that Accra will become the meeting point for Africa's biggest marketing minds and boldest tech innovators.
The African Marketing Confederation is an umbrella body that brings together all marketers associations or formal groupings across Africa. There are about 19 countries now, from South, Eastern, Western, and North Africa.
We also believe that the future of tourism in Africa lies in the intersection of creativity. As hosts, we extend to you not only our facilities, but our culture, our people, our stories. So come and taste Ghana. Come and feel Ghana.
On this note, CIMG and IIPGH hereby declare the 2025 TICON Africa and AMC conferences duly launched.
Hello, I'm Dr. Victoria Ellen-Smith, a cultural historian at Bath Spa University in the UK, former senior lecturer in history at the University of Ghana, and the founding curator of the Adebuahen Memorial Library and Archive. and my archival research that I've been exploring the history of GBC. So, please join me at GBC Studio 1, on GTV, and on GBC's regional FM radio stations.
We are 90. Yes, GBC's 90 years. Hooray! Join us for the official launch of GBC's 90th anniversary and the first lecture on the topic GBC, the first chapter, the making of national radio. Date, Thursday, 31st July 2025. Venue, GTV Studio 1. Time, 11 a.m. Let's come together to celebrate GBC's 90 years of commitment to authentic, trusted, and impactful broadcasting.
Back at how far we have come, we are also looking ahead. This is the essence of Mohammed's leadership. He is focused and he will deliver. President Mohammed is honoring his promise to the Ghanaian people. The second half of 2025 promises to be even better. We expect inflation to continue its downward trend and our 2025 target ahead of schedule. We will sustain the stability of the city through disciplined spending, targeted investment, continued reserve acquisition. Growth will be further boosted by strategic initiatives, including the 24-hour economy program, the Big Push infrastructure program, and the revitalization of agriculture through the Agriculture for Economic Transformation program. Mr. Speaker, you recall that during my vetting, when asked what I would like to be remembered as a minister, Mr. Speaker, I stated that I would like to be remembered for stabilizing the exchange rate, ensuring low prices, and creating jobs. Right, Honorable Speaker, ahead of the presentation of the 2025 budget, my engagement with the traders at the mobile market revealed that price and exchange rate stability were the overriding concerns risk to the 2025 fiscal framework. Mr. Speaker, despite the robust fiscal performance, there are some underlying risks which pose threat to the 2025 fiscal budget. The risks are as follows: shortfalls in customs revenue, smuggling of marine gas oil, mounting wage pressures, and price and award of contracts in foreign currency. Mr. Speaker, I'll take them one by one. Cost 6 billion, even though overall revenue is doing well, representing 12.7% reduction from the first half of 2025. This performance is attributed to systemic revenue leakage at key customs collection points, particularly the Tama port and the smuggling of goods across our land borders. Mr. Speaker, this development is implementing the following measures to address existing operational challenges to safeguard revenue. One, we will adopt the use of artificial intelligence, AI, to minimize human interference in revenue assessment, supporting the validation of the country of origin, as well as the accrual of classification and valuation of imported goods. We are rolling out advanced cargo formation system to ensure that Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, GPH, and the Ghana Revenue Authority, the GR, receives comprehensive shipment detail at least 24 hours prior to vessel departure from the port of origin. The Speaker, this enables pre-arrival risk assessment, reduce the need for documentation amendment, and facilitate more accurate and timely duty assessment. We will also be implementing a robust anti-smuggling surveillance program targeting both inland and maritime borders. And to those at Sankase, we are coming after you. Mr. Speaker, reviewing the institutional setup of Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, including staff ability in foreign currency, pricing award of contract in foreign currency. Mr. Speaker, pricing of goods and services and award of contract in foreign currency pose significant risk to fiscal management, with severe implications for the stability of our Ghana cedi. Unfortunately, foreign currencies are becoming the means of transacting business in Ghana. This trend, if not checked, will erode the confidence in our currency, drive inflation, and result in the lost value in the symbol of our sovereignty. Mr. Speaker, to curb this unfortunate development, His Excellency Amani Mahama has directed that beginning today, 24th of July 2025, no contract awarded by a government, irrespective of source of, should be denominated in foreign currency. Has directed that beginning today, 24th of July 2025, no contract awarded by a government, irrespective of source of funding, should be denominated in foreign currency. Mr. Speaker.
Right, welcome back, viewers. We are live on GTV News and GBC. In studio, before we even came, the discussions are already heated here. It's going to be an interesting morning. Well, I have with me in studio Mr. Martin Ohene Enim. He's a PhD candidate, PhD finance candidate, and also a chartered financial economist and a chartered accountant. Next to him, we have Solomon Owusu. He's a member for the Movement for Change. And then we have, to my immediate left, Kamal Dean Abdullahi. He's a Deputy Communications Director for the New Patriotic Party. We will later be joined by Nipapo Samuado, a private legal practitioner and also a member of the NDC. And then also be joined on by Dr. Eric Udrosai, the former Director General for the Internal Audit Agency. Gentlemen, welcome to the studio.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
It's interesting how all of you are wearing white, and I seem to be the one writing.
Yes.
If I had also worn white, I'm sure this morning it would have been. I don't know when we are celebrating.
Making him stand out.
Yes.
Yes. So you are the
first. After who? So I need to stand out.
We want you to stand out.
Yes. But come on, what are you celebrating this morning?
Well,
a budget has just been read, and MPP are in white.
I'm celebrating good health.
Inshallah.
Good health, and I should say that the kind of relationship that Ghanaians also enjoy together. Some jurisdictions, when you go, trust me, you will see perceived foes, right? Not foes per se, but perceived foes sitting on set to discuss matters like we're doing. In other jurisdictions as well, you will not see a Muslim and a Christian getting married. Ghana, we have seen it. You will see people with, people are variant. Somebody and our seeing as a people, we've grown our democracy for over 30 years without serious problems. Safe to say that we have resorted to only talking and not doing proper work, all of us. Which is something. So indeed, when you ask me what I'm celebrating, I will say that, look, I'm enjoying good health. I'm enjoying the peace that we are all seeing. I'm also enjoying, indeed, the kind of relationship that we all have with each other. Except to add that the propaganda is getting too much, and which we need to actually.
I was really expecting you to say that. So
I'm even surprised. I thought you were giving the first topic to
I'm
these are some of the things that they use to, as it were, bamboozle.
Why are you wearing white this morning? What are you saying?
When I want to be careful, I wear white. So I want to be careful.
So a man cannot be careful unless he's wearing a white shirt.
I want to be careful today. That's right.
Nothing. Yes, and you say the only you.
Yes,
right.
Yes, the only me, of course.
Right.
We thank God for a new day, for a new life. We're here to discuss topical issues that border on our country and see how we can also contribute to major topical discussion that can guide policies going forward. We are grateful to God for another day.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, so we'll start with the Finance Minister's mid-year performance or mid-year budget.
Yeah.
Just to give viewers a bit of a context, now the budget was mainly on the economy, and it was put in two parts. It was put in the first part that the 6 months so far, January to June, and then the second looks at the next to happen as at the end of December. So that's how we're going to contextualize the discussion. Now, on the screen, I'm sure very soon my team would project certain pinpoints or certain pain points from the discussion, but mainly the issues we are going to talk about this morning, we'll be looking at the abolishment or the proposal to abolish the COVID-19 levy. In October, the minister mentioned that there will be an introduction of a bill that looks to abolish this in the 2026 budget. Also, there was a talk of the effective VAT rate to be reduced, and then also making or trying to streamline the cascading effect of the GET fund and the NHIS levies. We would explain, before my panelists speak, I would explain what the cascading effect of the GET fund and NHIS levy means, and then also to work to unify the flat rates or remove it and unify the rates for VAT. And also, the VAT registration threshold will be increased to exempt small and micro businesses. So small and micro business, when the threshold is increased, as long as you don't meet that threshold, you would have some exemptions to the VAT registration. And compliance will be improved through public education, awareness creation, and the introduction of fiscal electronic devices. So we'll start our discussions this morning on the VAT. And I'll start with, it's only fair I start with the PhD candidate. Now, Martin.
Yes.
The government has announced that in October 2025, it will be introducing a bill, and the intention of the bill is to abolish the COVID-19 levy. I mean, when the first budget was read in March, the minister made mention that there were plans to abolish this COVID-19 levy. However, he had to go to IMF to do some discussions. He announced that has been successfully completed, and there are plans in place to abolish it, and the 2026 budget would see this levy abolished, and then also even reduce the VAT, effective rate of VAT. Now, if these things happen, as an economist, as an accountant, what would be the significant impact? What would be the changes in terms of consumers? What relief should consumers expect? Then again, what relief should businesses expect?
Thank you once again for the opportunity. Actually, my expectation was that this COVID-19 levy would have been removed in the mid-year budget review, but that was one of my expectations, because when there was a technical report from the GRA on their VAT regime, and it became very clear that about close to 60% non-compliance relative to our VAT regime. So it necessitated a review of our VAT regime and see how we can collaborate with key partners like IMF that will give us that technical assistance to be able to review our VAT system to make it robust and allow the taxpayer to be more compliant. Now, what are we trying to say in terms of what we mean cascading effect? You know, when you look at, due to the government needed revenue due to the exogenous shocks that emerged, Russia-Ukraine war and all that. So there was the need to mobilize domestic revenue to tackle our issues. And one of the reforms that the previous administration did was to introduce COVID-19 levy and restructure our VAT system to be able to rake in more revenue to tackle the challenges that the shocks brought to bear. And in doing that, they increased our VAT rates from effective 17.5% to now to 22% effectively. Right. So then they introduced the COVID GET fund. They now segregated it separate from the VAT itself and make it as a line item on our VAT system. So when you buy an item, the effective tax that you are paying on that item now is 22%. And what does that do? Actually, the whole thing doesn't even make sense based on standards across the world. You don't pay tax on tax because the levies are then added to the cost of the product, and then the VAT flat rate of 15% is also applied on it. So it means that you are paying tax on the cost of the product and as well as tax on tax, and that does not make sense. And IMF was very particular about that. And so the expectation is that how can we decouple this arrangement to let the VAT rate stand on its own, and then we can allow for full compliance. What this is doing is that many SMEs are not compliant with this regime. It's actually increased the cost of their product, and they are not certain that they will be able to claim their input costs. So what they do is that they will not even charge it, and government will not be able to rake in the necessary revenues that they are supposed to achieve. So the one objective is that can we restructure that regime, ensure compliance, and mobilize the needed revenue that will based on the report that GRA themselves has issued. So basically, that is what they seek to. So he mentioned that in the budget that September they will complete the exercise, and we are hoping that will be done particularly to help the ordinary Ghanaian.
Right, but my episode, if this happens, me as a consumer, I mean the guy who goes to the market to go buy goods to do his check. Yeah. What relief will this person get?
A VAT is an indirect tax. The incidence of that tax is on the final consumer. You pay it. So it means that if we are able to review that regime and reduce the effective tax rate that you pay, the cost of the product that you have paid will have gone down. So the expectation is that money that earlier you have paid to government then will increase your disposable income to help you consume more baskets, and then we can then have more income to consume, to have a multiplier effect on our aggregate demand in the economy. So overall, government wants to ensure compliance, reduce the burden on the tax people so that you can comply more in terms of the payment of those taxes.
And how does that also make us competitive as businesses? I mean, we are not only competing with domestic markets, we are competing with ECOWAS, we are competing with across the globe, across the continent, across the globe. How does this make our businesses competitive, both internally and externally?
Great. Consumers buy for consumption, businesses buy for production. So when any reduction in taxes that are imposed on the items that they buy, the expectation is that will reduce their cost of production, and that could also reduce the prices of items. So it's a good thing. It is achieving two objectives: ensuring compliance, raking in revenue, and ensuring that there's some respite relief given to the taxpayer, so that we can rake in the necessary revenue as a country. And we, the tax professionals, fully support government on this cause.
Right. Come on. So your government was in power. Your government introduced COVID-19, as Martin said, as one of the means to rake in more revenue because of the external shocks, and then also coupling it with the NHIL and the GET fund and all that. This government says it's taking it away. Should you not be happy? Is that not going to make life better? Is that not what this is all about? Making life better for everybody. If, from what Martin has said, if consumers are now going to get some respite, they are now going to have more disposable income. They can now easily buy things. Businesses can compete better. Should this not be jubilating? Probably should this not be the reason why you're wearing white this morning?
Well, thank you so much, Kojo. And let me once again thank you for this opportunity, and also say good morning to the viewers out there as well. Kojo, it's that simple. There's no government, okay, that will say, I am not going to have anything to do with taxes. No. To help you see to the propelling of your economy. No government. However, there are measures put in place, and they expect more. So most governments, prior to even coming into power, would either say that, look, we would ensure tax cuts when we come in as part of their messages. You want to move voters towards their side. Okay? No government will tell you, or party will tell you, look, when I come, I'm going to increase taxes. However, when they come in and then faced with reality, of course, the reality will dawn on them, and then some decisions will be taken. Right. As we said today, your question is,
whether or not, okay, Ghanaians should not be happy or me certainly, I will say no. You see, this government had decided to rob Peter to pay Paul.
Okay.
Today, before on my way, because each liter of fuel I buy today, this morning, I am paying 1 good cedi each liter of fuel. The same government who says, look, I am looking at VAT, and you have components called COVID, you have components called bill fall that has come with the easing of our forex, and for that matter, fuel prices going down based on our format of building up. That government is taking 1 cedi from every single liter from you, and the same government says, look, be happy. That's why I say they are robbing Peter to pay Paul. The same government says that your electricity bill out there should be increased by 14-point-something%. Says that your water bills must be increased. These are essentials. Now, I'm addressing the question of whether or not we should be happy. For VAT, I've always had challenges with the VAT. Look, how well returns are received at GRA is a matter. Those who are supposed to even collect tax on our behalf, which is an indirect tax, how well they do that with their customers is a matter. I will not be surprised if I should take the target that GRA set for themselves, okay, to rake in revenue. VAT wouldn't be playing a very key role.
Right.
I will not be surprised because the porosity of that system is huge. So I say this government has resorted to do PR. They are doing serious PR. The meat of the matter is they are giving you 1 cedi to pay, nobody's talking about that one. I've told you that your light bill is increased, nobody's talking about that one. I've told you that your water bill is increased, nobody's talking about that one. And then, oh, the next moment for COVID and this, because we want to ease your pain. Really? Now the fundamental question. Jet Fund was set up by the same government, NDC, when you change their tradition. Before they left in 1999, 2000. That was when they introduced Get Fund. Okay? And what was the essence of introducing Get Fund? To ensure that infrastructure is actually given to our institutions, educational institutions. Lofty idea, great idea. The government of NPP also came under President Kufuor and continued with it. However, the question was, where is the source of funding to ensure that we get such projects? Thinking went around it. My brother makes the argument that you cannot put tax on tax. However, if you look at the component of the tax that you have, an argument was that maybe let's start with VAT with 20-something%. I remember Kumipreko demonstration. It was over 20-something% before later on they reduced it and brought it down. Right. So if that argument was there, then the government said, even though we went on that demonstration, we looked at it, but I started off by saying the government upon government will tell you, look, we are against tax when they are canvassing. When they come into power, they have no option than to opt for tax because that is the only way you can get revenue. Right. So now when we saw that in 1995 we went through Kumipreko, but when we got power in 2000 we said, I think this thing was a good idea. However, we needed to sustain this Get Fund thing, so let's increase the amount even from this to that. That's how tax was put on tax here. So I'm trying to say that, look, whichever way we look at it, the government of NDC, the government of NPP can never do without taxes. Right. However, the PR around it, let us reduce the propaganda a bit. Let us reduce the propaganda a bit. Today we are talking about big push. And you have mentioned all manner of projects under big push. The president was within 6 months. And telling us how they're going to do big push, they're going to have roads here, they're going to have here. The next moment, go to the Minister of Roads, they don't even have money to pay contractors. And you are telling me that the PR you are doing, I should be happy. So when you ask me whether I should be happy or not, let us reduce the talk. Talk is cheap. Right. It is important to embark on action. And when you embark on action, Kamau Dean would actually tap you on your shoulders and say, look, you are one the governance. 6 months in government, 7 months in government, it is not magic. We are told that 4 years is even enough. It's not enough to even ensure that the economy is okay. The same government says that 4 years is not enough. Then the next moment you say, oh, we should glorify you. 6 months, you have done all the time. Who actually built the reserve for you? Bank of Ghana spent not less, according to IMF, not less than $1.4 billion to ensure that we sustain the city. Right. Where did they get that $1.4 billion? From the reserve. Okay. Today, as we speak, The finance minister is not telling us that. The only he's telling us is DPR. The gold for oil program was a sham. Which one was it? How did you get it? I said, no, but it's all tied to this VAT component matter. It's all part of it. So I'm saying the government of the day must tread cautiously. They must. We have seen it before. If you tell me why is MPP, I say yes, because Ghanaians thought that they were not happy. They've taken us out. You are the best option you have come. So do it and stop blaming MPP.
So do it.
Stop it.
Do it and stop blaming MPP. Okay.
Exactly.
So before I come to you, we've just been joined by you've met at the right time. Yeah. So viewers, we've been joined by Papo Samuado, as introduced earlier. He is a private legal practitioner and a member of the National Democratic Congress, the NDC, the ruling government. Welcome. We were praying that you won't come wearing white.
We are industrious. I mean, we're a country that is recovering and from a very traumatic experience. And so we need to be guided by our actions. And as you can see, the president is a man who is a man on a mission. A legacy president, I normally call him. And so, we are very humble, we are very focused. And if you can see, the Minister of Finance is one who looks very, very serious and is working hard on the books. And once we get the opportunity, we will provide, I don't like normally doing the, is it my take? Do you want me to take a bite at, do you want me to take a bite at, okay. So
No.
That's an intro, yeah. So I just think that, I always, maybe because I'm not an economist, I normally like to veer away from. Yeah, I know. And just a minute, just to give Ghanaians the fact that we will do. In my presentation, I just do a very common sense approach towards what has been the price differences between January and now, as compared to what we inherited. Basic food items. That for me is because at the heart of any economy is what you feel out there. Right. And so if your milk, your sugar, your rice, your sanitary parts, your whatever, if you can see the difference, your iron rods, if you can see the difference, we don't need to talk too much.
Right. So joining us also on Zoom is Dr. Eric Odrosai. Hello, Doc. Good morning.
Good morning, my brother, and good morning to colleague panelists.
I hope you're doing well.
Yes, I'm doing well.
Right. And good for you also not wearing white, so at least it's balanced this morning. 3 multicolored and then 3 white. So it's good. Yes. It's good. Thank you for joining us. Well,
thank you very much.
So back in studio, so you are also in opposition.
Yes.
You in December you were expecting that Chief Alan succeeds in winning. Unfortunately, MPP were smacked, and you were also smacked double, and so you're also in opposition.
Yes.
Should your expectation not be that Ghanaians are happy irrespective of who is in power? If all these things that are being said, the VAT reforms, should have...
For it's important we all know that after elections there is a nation to govern.
Yes.
So we all, as it were, irrespective of whoever is in the helm of affairs, it's incumbent upon all of us to help the person to succeed.
Right.
And so our criticisms has to be constructive. It's in building a nation. I don't think any of us sitting here wants to wish the downfall of this administration. The politics of it, we will do it because it's based on our policies. For instance, I have in front of me the plan that we took to the people of this country, the Great Transformation Plan. We enumerated a number of things that they would have done to better the loss of the people of this country.
Right.
The last 8 years wasn't a pleasant one for the people of this country, let's face it, particularly the second half of the last 8 years. The country went into traumatic situations. And it is the reason why we are discussing this VAT issue. You remember that beyond the 1%. In 2018, actually introduced what we call compound calculation of VAT. I'm a businessman, and if I tell you the effect of that action on businesses, I think it's one of the reasons why things or life really became so expensive for the ordinary Ghanaian. The finance minister had made the argument then that we had revenue shortfalls, and so we needed to plug the holes for just a year. So by 2019, we would have reverted from the compound calculation to our normal calculation, where we decouple the NHIL plus the GET fund from the VAT itself. As we speak, that's why Martin was saying that you don't put tax on tax, or you don't charge tax on tax. You calculate NHIL plus GET fund and add it to the gross and apply VAT. That is tax on tax. So it makes things so expensive. The reason why you find a lot of people complaining that restaurant foods are expensive, because when you go there and they print your bill for you, you will see you be charged the VAT. So it's a good news to hear, except that this is a future proposal. Yes. Let's also get it straight that it is at minimum. This is his expectation. Now he's saying that they have gone through the technical survey, they are now doing what we call the stakeholder engagement with the market women and so on and so forth, so that by November we would, as it were, see some of these. It will be good for this country, because we are in a globalized world. Now whatever we are producing here, we are competing with our neighbors and those beyond our neighbors, our borders. So we cannot afford to be having an expensive economy. And that is why I believe that it is one of the important things that has to be done. Beyond that, you see, this whole budget, I say budget is what? Expenditure, expected revenue, expected expenditure. If the revenues do not fall in, there wouldn't be any expenditure. And so it is for you and I to make sure that we work very hard and then generate the much needed revenue for the country to grow. I looked at the numbers, I listened to the various issues. Yes, he stated obvious facts. It is a fact that for the last 4 months, the city has stabilized. Nobody can debate that. It's a fact that the lending rate has reduced from 30.3 to 27 thereof on the average. It is also a fact that we are enjoying a primary surplus. Balance surplus is a fact that agriculture has increased. Our GDP is now at 5.3%. So all these things put together is a fact. It is also a fact that the cascading effects of all these seem not to be showing very well. You understand? Because you expect that with a reduced lending rate, it will have a rippling effect massively on the prices of goods and services. Right. However, the complaint in the market is that some items are also on the high side. And that is why I believe that the finance minister and, as it were, the governor of Bank of Ghana must work in tandem to actually go and find out whether or not the reduction in policy rate is translating, or the commercial banks are also, as it were, actualizing the reduction in the policy rate to loans advanced to customers. It's very, very important. So that it's not as though the Bank of Ghana is saying that we are doing price. Businesses go to bank to borrow. And so once you're borrowing from the bank, it means you have to be paying back. And once you are paying the same rate, it will not make business sense for you to reduce the prices of your goods and services. And that is why you still find prices of items at a very high rate. Let me say that in the West African sub-region, we seem to be doing the highest interest rate. You can talk about the Francophone as having a common central bank who are doing less than 5% and so on and so forth. But even if you take English West Africa, Sierra Leone now hitherto was doing above 28%, it's now doing 23%. Nigeria is doing around 17%. And so we need to work hard to bring the policy rate, the lending rate into the teens. You understand? For now we can start from 17, 18%. Then we know that we are reducing. Because without that, we are not going anywhere. You understand? I was also very happy to hear from the finance minister that now we are going to price contracts in our local currency. You understand? It's one of the things that really affects this country.
Right. So this is one of the topics that we would go into. So thank you. Dr. Brosai, so I would want us to look at the cascading effect. What the minister says it's looking at reducing or abolishing. Now, to viewers, when we talk about the cascading effect, what it means is that if, for instance, I import raw materials for, let's say, 100 cedis, I pay an NH get fund of 2.5 and NHIS levy also of 2.5 on it. What it means is that just my initial cost would now become 105 cedis. Now, after production, if I convert that goods to some, maybe the raw materials to some goods, and I sell it to, let's say, a wholesaler at 150 cedis. Now, the wholesaler buying it from me also now pays 2.5 NHIS and then 2.5 get fund on this 150. So technically, it takes it to approximately about, I think, my maths, 157.50, yes. Now, this wholesaler now is going to sell to a retailer. This retailer also now buys this 157.50 at 2.5 extra, another 2.5. So then now the retailer technically is going to get it, if the wholesaler adds his profit, let's say about 210 cedis. That is how much a retailer now is going to sell it to you and I. So if we also go now, we're going to pay 5% on this 210, which probably will be about 10 cedis, 50 pesos, so that's 245. Now, so the goods that were produced at the cost of 150 cedis now will be sold at 200 and let's say 25, and that's what we mean by the cascading effect of the NHIS and then the get fund levy. Now, Doctor, if the minister says he wants to abolish this, clearly what it simply means is that the end effect on the consumer will be good. Is that correct?
You're right. The cascading effect may reduce, but you see, governing a country without taxes is difficult. You can say that you have reducing the cascading effect, which I perfectly agree with you. But the question then is, what is the alternative? Well, the government cannot run this country without taxes. And that is a signal we have to send clearly to Ghanaians, that governance is such that government need the taxes. So I agree, the cascading effect would reduce. It will be virtually zero impact once you withdraw it. But what is the alternative for government to get money to mature almost immediately? It takes time. Any policy, especially economic policy, all things being equal, that matures almost immediately. If not, and then the impact will be felt. So I think it's good news, but I really need to know the alternative way by which government will finance this gap. Because remember, the government is yet to implement a full year's budget. The government came to power when a budget in advance of appropriation has already been prepared. That's a 3-month budget. Then the government revised it with its own 9-month budget. So this mid-year budget review that the government is doing, the government is doing it on the basis of the first quarter budget in advance of appropriation that was handed over to them by the previous government. Each own, and then 3 months of its 9-month budget. So I am hesitant at assessing the government. The economic recovery and the performance policies of the government can be done when they prepare and implement the 2026 budget in a full year. Then we will be able to assess the impact of the government policies. But as far as the NHIL and then the GETS fund levy and all the other taxes are concerned, yes, the cascading effect would be a reduction on the impact on citizens. That is, if producers and then people who do business will listen to government and not pass it on or create an additional cost that can pass on those expenses to the people of Ghana. But I always say that once we remove one tax, we should look for where the other taxes, because government cannot do without taxes.
Thank you, Doc. So, Liverpool. So, Doc made mention of something which is critical. I mean, that would have been my follow-up point. I'm correct. It's on page, it should be page 20 or page 17 of the statement. The minister, let me indicate that grants underperform. Okay, so despite the shortfall in total revenue and grants, the Act 10 represents a nominal growth of blah, blah, blah. And it says that the total revenue and grants was 99.3 billion. So within the first half, that's the total revenue and grant in the economy. Yeah. However, if it comes to how much we spent, our expenditure was 109.7 billion, which means we spent more than this. This revenue even includes this cascading effect of VAT, GET fund, NHIL, blah. Now we're taking this away, which means that revenue, technically, all things being equal, will reduce.
It's the same finance minister that abolished your, what do you call it, your e-levy?
Yes.
Yes, betting tax and all that.
Yes.
So he's not a finance minister that is averse to doing what he says. Remember,
perhaps it's that abolishment that has resulted in us having this. Because like Doc asked, so if we are abolishing, what becomes the alternative? To be able to generate that revenue, to be able to cover all these things we are going to say.
The good thing about this particular finance minister is that you can track his record. He was very critical about the structure of the VAT. You can read his speeches in Parliament. And so I was very happy when he got the opportunity to now come into government and give us what he had. If you want compliance with, in terms of the VAT, and everybody knows that typically most citizens are averse to tax payments. And so you make it worse when its calculation, you understand, becomes something like a voodoo mathematics. Then of course, it even puts away the incentive to want to comply. But if you listen to traders, if you listen to business owners, one of the critical things they keep bringing up, and remember, all parties go around when we do our manifesto, when you talk to the stakeholders, everybody keeps pushing the idea that we need to be able to calculate our taxes, you understand, in a way that makes it easy for somebody to just walk up and go and pay. So that when you buy this from a trader, you should know automatically how much the tax should be. Rather than going to, just give the example, you go and sit in a restaurant, and before the bill comes, you have a certain idea of what your project is. So you see the actual cost of the item or the food that you want to eat, and then the taxes that flow after that is almost equivalent to the food that you bought. It doesn't make any sense. So one, it makes everybody feel that, why would I want to pay that? When if you had a flat rate, you understand, people feel more comfortable. That, and you can ask any business owner, between a flat rate, which is easy to calculate, as opposed to this hideous this thing, COVID and what have you, and then when you finish, they tell you that is as my expenses, tax on tax, and a lot of people, it makes compliance difficult.
But I'll give you the 99 million.
Billion. You see, what would be more appreciated by a finance minister? Making the tax easy to calculate in order to attract more people to pay. You understand? Or keeping it as it is and having more people outside the tax net. Anybody will tell you that we would rather make it easier to pay, you understand, and attract more people. So if you look at the trade, if you talk to the Kathmandu trader, if you talk, they'll tell you, Chief, make the calculation easier for us to pay. So that when I'm paying, I know that I don't have to now go and see everybody at VAT and they will now, whatever. You see, you want to remove, and one of the things that face our public sector is corruption. When you make the thing difficult to calculate, when you make it difficult to comply with, you attract corruption. Because somebody, somewhere, he says, it's not like because he knows there will be repercussions if he doesn't pay. So how do I undercut the system in a way that makes it easy for me to appear to comply, back at what we call the guru boys? You understand? Because if you can make your service in such a way that it makes it easier, accessible, and all that. That's why he's coming up with all these reforms, pay points, and all that. If he's able to do that, make it easy to calculate, make the payment system easier, make it more attractive, then people will get up voluntarily. Because why would I want to see development in my country? Every Ghanaian wants to drive on good roads. There's no Ghanaian who wants to drive on the bad road from Isawam to Kumasi, when we can actually say that, oh, if I contribute my quota, I will not see it in the whole at the cathedral at this thing, but I'll see my taxes are not unpatriotic. When we travel to the Dubais and where we see the infrastructure and things, we ask ourselves, why can't we do it of taxes? So I would want the finance minister to push ahead with the reforms. You understand? When he came to inherit a very bad situation. You understand? And so I know that for the first 6 months, it was about stabilizing what it is that he came to meet. Clearly, you can of the finance minister, I was telling my friend here that if you're a student of Ghana's political history, from 1996, when the MPP was in Parliament, immediately the finance minister finishes the budget. Dr. Kunedu Apuku will read the alternative budget. He was the shadow reading the budget. They went on a walk, health walk, to a few places to go and present, because clearly there was no alternative back the issue. And I want Ghanaians to track this for me, and your viewers to send in their messages on these two things. Iron rods, the cost of iron rods. You see, people want to dump in food inflation, you understand, and also a drop in inflation itself.
Right.
They have major impacts on your pocket. It's of great significance, because you see, the reason why we felt a lot of pain over the past 4 years was the erosion of the value of our income. Yeah. So you are earning maybe 1,000 cedis, and that 1,000 cedis literally could take you nowhere, because the cost of goods and services, because we are largely importing that, the cost of goods and services were crazy. So very common items. Iron rods, January 9,400. As we speak, it's dropped to 7,500.
Right.
You talk about things like Dettol. As at January, it was 85 cedis per. As at now, it's 65 cedis. You want to talk about, and for the ladies, yes, sanitary pad. As at January, it was 25 cedis. In July, it's 15 cedis.
This famous year's 15 cedis.
Always sanitary, 35. It got to 30 cedis.
When we are done,
I'm saying that I want our viewers to call in or to and tell me whether they have not significant. See, the point is this: you cannot run away from the fact that there has been significant drop in the cost of basic items that we import into this country. And that has been a direct result of just the currency stability. You can't run away from that. And you can't run away from the fact that people now feel that at least the money that we have in our hand, you understand, we can plan our lives, you understand, based on the certainty that we find on the currency market. You understand? It is important that we acknowledge the stability, we acknowledge the fact that this government has had to take very painful measures to consolidate fiscal discipline, you understand, and to ensure that certain things that happen, and I agree with him, my brother Kamal was saying that we've been voted for to solve problems. We cannot lament after 6 months on what we came to inherit, you understand. But it is important to acknowledge where we came from and allow the minister the room and encourage him, you understand, that such a fine brain, you understand?
When you keep saying the minister such a fine brain, it sounds so much like something we heard 8 years ago.
No, you see?
And
hold on.
We are more like...
Hold on. That by now, I've been waiting. You understand? It's over 24 hours, yes. But I'm waiting for the
first year.
Hold on, my brother. Go to the history books.
No, I have.
Go to Parliament. I'm talking about Parliament.
2017.
No, hold on. I went back. Remember, I went back.
Yes.
I said it is a tradition.
Yes.
That any time there has been the reading of the budget, the opposition will always have an alternative budget.
That is not in doubt.
And I'm telling you that as we speak now, you understand, we are waiting for the opposition to give us policy alternatives to what we have now. Tell us how you are now going to bring, having brought the dollar from 17 to 10 cedis, you understand? You bring us alternate policies that will actually drive it to maybe 6 cedis, 5 cedis. Having brought down inflation, you give us alternative of dropping it further, because our end of year target is 12%, even though that is conservative. You know, in the voice of the Dr. Baumia, this economic team, then he mentions the names. The Harvard intellectuals who have supervised us from 2017 to now. We want to see that team hold a press conference and tell us how they will bring the economy better, manage it better than what we have now. Clearly, they don't have an alternative.
Perhaps we would organize that press conference, you know, for them.
Yes, opportunity to respond.
Yes, but let me come to Martin. Once we've done a bit of the politics, I would come to you. Martin, so, I mean, when Nipapu was speaking, when Kamal spoke, when Solomon spoke, when Dr. Udosai spoke, I hear one thing. Every 2 statements made, there's one to be celebrating.
Yeah.
It's on the back of the city's appreciation.
Okay.
I mean, you hear things like fiscal discipline. When you ask what it means, you might probably be able to explain, but there are more jargons thrown at us. The only one that seems to make more meaning to us is that the city has appreciated. And for that reason, even our public debt has moved from 726.7 billion Ghana cedis to now 613 billion cedis in just 6 months, mainly because of the appreciation of the cedi. Technically, the dollar component of it stays as it is, but because of the conversion, now it's gone down.
Yeah.
Is this sustainable? If everything we are celebrating today, if you read the statement by the minister, everything he keeps saying is the dollar, the appreciation, the dollar. There's virtually, and like Doc asked, no alternative to say that this is what is actually generating the revenue. It seems to be hinging on the fact of the dollar. Yeah. Is this sustainable?
Yes, that's a good question. You know, before I zero into the specific question, I want to bring to bear some few things in context. You know, any governor assume power from January 2025. The first thing to do is to stabilize macroeconomic stability. That's one of the objectives they need to seek to achieve. Now, the exchange rate has become topical because that's what Ghanaians understand. But in an economy, there are certain indicators that we look at, of which the exchange rate is also one of them. Now, the S4 administration, definitely we know the fiscal vulnerabilities that we're exposed to, and then the debt restructuring that we have to do to be able to ease some pressures that we actually brought on ourselves because of the huge or high debt accumulations that we did in the previous years. We were blacklisted on the capital market. We couldn't go to borrow on the Eurobond market because of our debt levels being unsustainable. We're then required to do some domestic and external debt restructuring projects to be able to give some respite to us on our debt obligation going into the future. So that effort from the elsewhere government has helped to be able to ease our debt obligations and also help us achieve some achievements in our debt to GDP ratios, now moving from 63% as at the end of 2024 to about 43-41% as at June 2028. It was also because we also paid our Eurobond obligations that matured. So that has helped to, our credit rating from a restrictive default to a B- by Fitch of December 2024. But as of now, we achieved about 10.4, we're around 10.4, 10.5. Right. And then the tariff wars by the U.S. Government also make the confidence in the dollar as a trading currency went down. Right. So it became external across the world. But when you look at the rate at which our city has appreciated, you could see that there's a combination of some domestic factors. One is due to the accumulation of reserves by the central bank through the gold for reserve program that was started by the ex-war administration. That program has continued by the current administration. So we had an import cover about 4 months import cover as of December, but right now we are looking at about 4.8 months import cover. Now, we also see a major...
So that is the gold reserve, not the gold for oil?
No, that's for gold for reserve. Now, the gold for oil, the gold for oil is... right?
Let's focus on him.
The gold
Martin, please go on. Someone.
I'll come there. I'll come there.
Gentlemen.
So the gold for oil program, the original intent was that we exchange gold for oil, but it was
distracted by the politicians. You are there, so let's go.
It became obvious that BOG was actually settling the obligation with hard currencies. So we largely did not exchange the gold for the oil. The gold for reserve actually was an introduction by the previous administration to enhance our reserve capacity so that we can support our import demand if the need be. So we were able to improve our import cover from a level between 1.8 to 4 at the end of December 2024. Now that program continued, and that has also helped in accumulation of reserve. Now we are doing about 4.8 months import cover. Also, if you notice, gold and cocoa, international prices shot up, and also domestic production also increased. So we made gains both from the price angle and also from the quantity angle. So we mobilized enough revenue to enhance enhance our reserves accumulation. The introduction of the gold board cannot be discounted. There's strong structural reform that has been introduced to mobilize and also curtail the smuggling and the ills that happens in our foreign exchange market, so that there will be a designated regulator that will mobilize the necessary reserves within those framework to enhance our foreign exchange accumulation, and that has been very effective. The expectation is that they should stick to the objective. They should not be with no corruption, but focus on overall game. These gains that we are achieving are sustainable. We look at a lot of factors. You see that unlike the challenge we had in the last 8 years was because fiscal dominated monetary policy. So the monetary side came as a stabilizing to try to monetize government debt after we have a debt overhang. So monetary policy came to print money because nobody was willing to give government of Ghana money externally through the Igbo market. So what was the name? The central bank governor. It was very important at that point to salvage the economy, to support government in terms of printing of currency. So for me personally, on an academic part and on professional level, I do not force the central bank because the monetary policy is, apart from achieving price stability, the real objective is to achieve some stability in the macros. So knowing that, one, we cannot pay our bills if we don't have the needed revenues or the cash flows, what didn't do that, the effect would have been worse than that. So for us, on academic basis and on a professional level, the fiscal side dominated the monetary side. So the monetary targets came in as a stabilizing tool to stabilize the economy. Now, but that led to, that triggered inflation. That triggered inflation up to a point we made an inflation rate of 54%.
Because now there was a lot of money.
It was a worldwide phenomenon.
No, but
the inflation was a world.
The reason why
after COVID,
you see, so the reason why, of course, inflation definitely the emergence of COVID and the Russia-Ukraine war is an exogenous shock that is global. That is expected. That is expected to have global effects. But when you see that your economic indicators are an outlier, That means that you have domestic vulnerabilities peculiar to you. And the reason being that, let me tell you, and I'm making it clear here, developing economies support their import demand through borrowings from the external capital market. And they also get forex from export of their commodities. Now, because we have not diversified our export that much, and because we are limited in terms of our export earning, like Ghana's a case, gold and cocoa, and the shock in the global market where there was COVID-19 and where there was no major trading, then your export earnings are then out. Yes. Then you will be then depending on external borrowing. But at that time, Ghana was blacklisted on the external capital market. We couldn't go into the European market to borrow. When that happened, then you don't have enough for it to support import demand. So when that happened, the inflation will trigger. When inflation triggers, then your GDP will then go down, and all the macros becomes negative. Investing into the productive sectors of the economy, like agriculture. Why should why should we worry about tomato prices in Ghana when we are talking about a war in Russia? Yes. It means that we didn't invest in production of basic crops in the country. That's why you are worried about a war in Russia. Are you getting the point? So we're not looking at how to provide the necessary buffer so that if there's any shock, you are able to mitigate the impact largely. So that is why we suffered as an economy. But what I'm seeing what I'm seeing from the emergence of the IMF program and what the elsewhere administration have done and what this government continues to do is you see us mobilizing enough foreign exchange. Traditionally, by standard, you are supposed to keep 3 months import cover. That is a requirement under the IMF program. But if you see, we have 4.8 months import cover. And the expectation is that the gold board will continue to help us sustain those gains. And then when we do that, then we know that even though if the central bank intervened, as Kamadin said, about 1.4 billion into the economy to support, if you are not in, you see, the kind of foreign currency regime that we are in is called the managed floats. The managed float is not only the interplay of demand and supply, where you let the market determine the price. They're supposed to be the central government, central bank, who must come in based on the excess liquidity or reserves they have to intervene to bring some stability. Right. So we are in the Ghana situation is a managed float system where the central bank comes in to bring some stability, looking at their reserves that they have, and that was a good intervention that they did. That's why we see the massive gain. So because we have earning now from gold, from oil, and from the reserves that we have. The expectation is that the fiscal consolidation efforts that we are seeing from the Ministry of Finance and the strong coordination that we are seeing between the governor and the finance minister, the expectation that it will go on. If you look at the gains, they are more demand-led. I would say demand-led, what I mean by demand-led is that you see a hike in the policy rate. So that is mobilizing excess liquidity from the market. Now, the fiscal side have not been too much expansionary in terms of spending. Now, so you see that excess liquidity has been mobilized out of the system. Right. Now, that is good, but we want to see how they work towards the supply side, where they invest in productivity, agriculture, food items, supporting the private sector, even though some taxes and levies are being taken out. The expectation is that those efforts will help sustain the gains going forward. Okay.
So, Dr. Odusai, so judging from what Martin has just said, and any other question I posed to him on the forex exchange gains. Now, if we are currently spending more than we are generating billion Ghana cedis, we need to pay. If all the noise or if all the jubilation is about forex, what do we need to do on the other end, like Martin mentioned, in terms of agriculture, in terms of production, in terms of services? What do we need to do more to be able to generate more revenue, to be able to spend within our revenue, and at the same time be able to service our public sector debts?
With the improvement in the forex, is one of the best things that should happen to us. Because when you look at our debts, actually, it is the foreign that is pushing the debts further because we borrow in foreign currency. And if our currency is weakening against other major currencies, automatically it pushes up our public debts. So if it is improving, so it is good. And once it also happens, and we are an import-led country, like my colleagues have said, I think government should quickly put in place measures to, if possible, reduce the imports that we undertake in this country. And that one, you would have to come up with import substitution programs and then change the taste of Ghanaians. But you see, there's one thing that I really want to see happening. The fiscal policy must speak to the monetary policy. It is basic economics, and I want my colleagues in the studio to help us break this thing down. Ghanaians are not interested in jargons. Many people do not understand the economics we are speaking, the macro, the micro. What every person wants to say is that I can borrow at a lower rate so that I'll be able to use it to do my business or expand my business, employ people, produce at a lower cost, sell it at a lower cost that every Ghanaian can afford it. Basic. So fiscal policy must speak to the monetary policy. As we speak, the consumer price inflation is at 13.7 as at June. Monetary policy is hovering around 28%. Basically, you go to any bank to borrow, and you can borrow at 28 and above percent. It is not linking up. It is not speaking to each other. But when I borrow at that rate and I use it to do business, expect that the cost of production will go high. So I think that one government should work towards getting the monetary policy to speak with the fiscal policy. The second one is about expenditure rationalization. And that's, I read in the mid-year budget that the government is doing something about it. When you look at government expenditure, public sector wage is increasing. And I'm happy I saw that they are going to clean the public sector payroll. Yes, it is good you clean the public sector payroll so that your public sector wage bill will reduce. However, we should also be very careful about certain categories of public officers we put under Article 71 because majority of them are also earning salaries that goes beyond a certain amount. So I think that cleaning the public sector payroll is also one of the areas, apart from making sure that we reduce our imports, have an import substitution industry. I really hope the 24-hour economy thing will be able to help us resolve this import appetite. Then let us also come to the other expenditure areas. As for the debt servicing, we cannot do anything about it. We have to service the debt. But the good thing is that once our forest improves, we'll be able to service the debt regularly. As I'm seeing a massive reduction, some way, somehow, in our public debt. Then let us come to goods and services, which is administration. There are a lot of waste in our public sector system. There are a lot of waste, and I'm happy the president has given directive that political appointees, fuel to political appointees must be reduced. But that needs clarity for implementation. But even when the political appointees are also taking this step to reduce public expenditure, what happens to the main administrative sector? Because you go there to certain public institutions and they waste. So if government would be able to cut costs of servicing public institutions by way of goods and services, I think it will really help us. Otherwise, we'll go in circles and the expenditure will keep increasing. I see public investment. Government wants to invest in roads and all of that. It's good. We need the roads. But then, if you invest in these roads and they are not matched by revenue, we're going to be in trouble. So, all I'm saying is that the fiscal policy must speak to monetary policy. I think at this stage, I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing the policy reconciliation forum between Bank of Ghana monetary policy and the fiscal policy, which is managed by the Ministry of Finance. The Minister of Finance is doing well, at least in the mid-year budget. He's trying to manage revenue and expenditure. But that one too is not speaking. So if revenue and expenditure, which comes under fiscal policy, is not speaking so well to each other, then the combined effect of the fiscal policy and the monetary policy is also not speaking. When the inflation, consumer price inflation is at 13.7, and then the monetary rate, which is basically the baseline for borrowing, is about 28%. The two are not speaking to each other. So maybe they should do something more about that. And I'm sure that gradually, with what we are witnessing, if they are able to add these things to 8, in the next 1 year, we will be able to have a very good baseline to access. But I congratulate the government and the Minister for Finance for at least making these modest gains. Let us tread cautiously so that we sustain it into the future.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you. And on the bit about the wastage on the administrative side, we look at the Auditor General report. Your former department will look at it to identify what really is the cause of this wastage, whether it is just as being complacent or what really is it discipline issue. So we'll look at that one later. But so no. Okay.
Let's get there. The interest rate that...
So you can just do this in 30 seconds.
The interest rate that we pay is not largely based on the monetary policy rate. It's based on the Ghana reference rate.
The GRR.
The GRR, of which the monetary policy rate is a component.
Yes.
Of which inflation is a component. As we speak today, the GRR rate, which the banks is the base rate, which the bank asks their risk premium based on the feature of the customer, is 23.69%, which is lower than the monetary policy rate. So if the bank asks premium on the market on average, they do between 3 to 5. So that's why you're seeing the
basic is about the interest rate. I have said time with that number that unless until we begin to do a single digit interest rate, we are not going to get anywhere. That's why you see our markets. I think GBC or GTV has to begin to do some of these stories, go to tiptoe lane. The number of Ghanaians who are having shops there. Now Ghanaians are having to compete with Nigeria. They are being outpriced from the market because the Nigerian is borrowing at 17% from his home region. Now, strangely, we decided to ask it to collapse most of our local banks. But we have the Nigerian bank surviving here. Have you asked yourself those that they give the loans to? So, you see, we have to, as it were, be intentional about some of the policies. But if the interest rate is still high, we are not going to survive. We are not going to survive.
The next fix.
So the target must be how to reduce interest rates. Because there is a correlationship between inflation, your exchange rate, and interest rate. And that is what Dr. Sir was trying to put across, that there has to be, one has to complement the other.
Right.
On the face of it, the administration is dually, they took over from 30.3%. They are brought it to 27%. We want to encourage them to come down because see, now we are not competing amongst ourselves. You understand? We are competing with the entire world.
Exactly.
Japan is doing 0% interest rate. Forget about even Japan. Your neighbors, Togo is doing 4.25 interest rate. Ivory Coast around the same regime. And so how are you going to compete? When you have a big push, when you have the 24-hour economy, when you have the agriculture for economic transformation, and the interest rate is high, how do you then get access to credit, and also not just the access, but cheap credit is so crucial. You understand? Why would people celebrate interest rate, exchange rate stability? Because we import a lot of the items that we use here.
We are largely importing.
Some of the things that we are importing, can you imagine we are importing close to $1 billion worth of tin tomatoes?
Toothpick.
$100 million worth of tomatoes, $300 million worth of chicken. And that is why a policy like it's a very good one. If they are going to implement importation of dead chicken, are you not going to save $150 million? So it's a good policy. You understand? Let us begin to redirect our focus to some of these areas. things that we can do. I'm not sure we are going to be able to produce all the items needed into this country. We are going to import. But there are certain products that we can do in this country.
Very competitive.
And those that have been financing our political activities, we beg, allow the politicians to take decisions in the interest of the people.
What's the point?
You understand? The mere fact that you financed a political party or a candidate does not mean that you have to tie his hands to be importing frozen chicken when we could do it here.
How else would the person make the money to finance?
But why would he to invest in the Kukong and then make the money here? These are nation records, I'm telling you. If you don't begin to call people out, and that is why
do you politicians go to them for the money if you know they are nation records? Why do you go to them?
The truth of the matter is that the Ghanaian voter has become sophisticated that he needs money.
Who made them?
They made themselves. But what I'm saying is that they have to. Kamal and his people made them. They introduced money to them.
You mean Kamal and Liverpool?
Oh, come on.
They are the powers. These are the powers.
Do you remember this song? This popular song? Alan Cash. You know how it came?
He shouldn't go there at all. Because, but once you address it, I need to pray. No. I will not sit here for Kamal to drag the name of Alan Chamati into a nonsense matter. I am not going to do that. No. I have to clear that. I have to clear. For them to be discussing.
Solo, you clear. I'll allow you to clear.
Talk about Kamal.
It was from Alan Chamati.
I didn't say
Let me moderate. I'll allow you to clear.
But I'm very surprised that I allow you to clear. All right. But I have to clear.
Come on.
Yes.
Come on.
How did you mention
The name of his
We are here for movement of change.
Yes.
And considering the fact that the leader of movement of change is Alan Chamati.
Yes.
And considering that Kamal has mentioned a song.
That's for the people.
No, he sang a song that has the name.
For the people.
So I'll give you 30 seconds.
Yes.
No, but
30 seconds to relax. And go back to it.
So what I'm saying is that the issue of Alan Cash, Alan Chamati being known as Alan Cash, was rather given to him by luck for the scam.
Exactly.
What they were doing was that they were spending and they realized that Alan wasn't spending.
Exactly.
So they needed to attach cash to his name so that people would think that he was just dashing out. Alan has always been a pragmatic person. And I'm very surprised that my brother Kamal, who knows this fact, would deliberately on such a big platform decide to malign.
You are pissing him from outside.
I know.
Come on. So now let's go back to it.
So let us deal with the interest rate is very, very important. And let us also refocus some of our banks. For instance, Agricultural Development Bank. Why would they be interested in supporting businesses that are importing from China, importing from Cambodia, importing from UK, and so on and so forth, when their mandate, their core mandate is to be for agriculture? And if you are going to finance agriculture, why must you be giving loans to farmers at a rate of 28 or 30%? Who does that? You understand? Now you come to an issue that we were talking about. These IMF people, they are not here for our interest. Get it straight. That a government is going into the aid of its people, pumping money into the system to stabilize it. Then you have somebody sitting in Washington telling us that, no, you don't have to do that. So the government must not do that so that we suffer, we die for you to come and take this country. Who does that? Economics is common sense. Forget about anything. If you have the money, if you are in your house and your children are suffering, would you sit down aloof when there is money?
No.
The government must continue. Anytime there is money, they must cushion. Forget about IMF. This is our country. We decide what to do with it. We only came to borrow. If we pay you off, you move on. But for you to tell us that we must not push money into the system, we will not take it. This thing continue to keep reoccurring. We don't have a lot of patriotic citizens now. Corruption is so prevalent everywhere. We have been talking about tax GDP regime of being low in this country. I have said that I disagree with that. 13.8 GDP is enough. Because a country like Singapore is doing 13.6. How come Singapore is able to behave within its 13.6 and ours? The difference is that corruption is very low there, whereas it is high here. And their corruption is punishable. Well, in this country, what are we hearing? Someone is put at the National Signal Bureau. Allegedly $7 million.
I mean, when we look at the Auditor General's report, we see a lot
people
of...
are eating, but the people are eating as we are not eating here. People are eating. This is the government of the issue. If you don't deal with corruption, we can increase all the taxes. We can speak all the beautiful jargons. At the end of the day, someone is at the ministry using a pen, changing, just adding 1010. Where will you get into? So let us deal with that.
Right.
And once we're able to do that, then we focus on the productive agriculture, Texas, and so on and so forth. And you begin that there will be that sustainability.
Right.
I don't know why we cannot even go for hedging. I've been doing business in the UAE. Dubai since 2011. The dirham to the dollar has always been at 3.8, 3.68. We can't do that because we have a lot of commodities that should be able to lead us into that hedging business,
right,
so that we can plan our lives.
Okay, thank you. So, come on, I'll watch a short video and I'll come back to you after the one. So, during the budget review also, the minister made mention of the fact that government is going to place a ban on dollar contracts. Let's watch the video.
So, Speaker, pricing and award of contract in foreign currency. Pricing of contract in foreign currency. Mr. Speaker, pricing of goods and services and award of contract in foreign currency pose significant risk to fiscal management, with severe implications for the stability of our Ghana cedi. Unfortunately, foreign currencies are becoming the means of transacting business in Ghana. This trend, if not checked, will erode confidence in our currency, drive inflation, and result in the loss of value, symbol of our sovereignty. Mr. Speaker, to curb this unfortunate development, His Excellency President John Mahama has directed that beginning day 24th of July 2025, no contract awarded by government, irrespective of source of fund, should be denominated in foreign currency. Right, Honorable Speaker. To curb this unfortunate development, President John Mahama has directed that beginning today, 24th July 2025, no contract awarded by government, irrespective of source of funding, should be denominated in foreign currency. Mr. Speaker.
There's a lot of laughter in studio. Anyway, so come on, Jim, could you? The minister just mentioned that. I mean, for me, when I heard this, I'm happy. But again, I'm worried. May he so rest in peace. When he announced that there was a ban on the over-counter payment, zero. And we are where we are today. Today we are hearing again ban on dollar contracts.
If you see, when I set off earlier with my submission, I mentioned that we are a nation of talkers. We enjoy talking. Okay? But when it comes to pragmatism, when it comes to putting the actual work on the table and doing it, zero. How many years of independence? These solutions that the economists give us, import must be looked at, arbitrage must be looked at, okay? Black market must be looked at, commercial banks in cahoots with people outside dealing with forex market must be looked at. We have said this over and over again. It's not as if we do not know the solution, but we do not even implement what we call the solution.
Right.
So we are a nation of talkers. So what the finance minister was doing, for me, is the usual rhetorics. Look, have you gone to the Ministry of Works and Housing to register for your license as a contractor? And look at the threshold given on the license. It's quoted in dollars.
Port charges.
Yes, a local contractor. I am going to get a license as a local domestic contractor. I am told that my license tells me that this threshold is about $500,000 worth of contract. This is $1.something million. The government does that to you. So ab initio, your mind has been set on dollars.
Yeah.
We have a problem with that. But see, you asked
the economy is the question of sustainability. So they also looked at it. I think we are all going to go to the same point. I am saying that non-essential goods in this country. Look, in 2022, the government of NPP promised that we're going to stop the importation of rice. We couldn't succeed. And it boils down to what Solo said. The businessmen who are into importation of rice, in one way or the other, might have cushioned you when you were a politician or when you were canvassing.
Yeah.
So when the person can say no, under President Rawlings, when he said that tobacco was going to be taxed heavily, we saw what the tobacco dealers did to the government of President Rawlings. So businessmen actually sometimes they're a problem. But see, I could not have agreed with Solo more when he says, look, let us go head on.
Right.
It is our country. We decide that this is the policy. From next month, the next quarter that we're going to have, no importation, or if importation was 100% of rice, we are going to import 20% rice. If you don't consume local rice, forget it. Nigeria does it. Nigeria has done, they've succeeded.
Yeah.
Aminu Dan Tata, who died recently, the richest, one of the richest men in Nigeria. He has a bank called Jais Bank. They're talking about the the interest rate. Jais Bank does 0 interest. 0 interest. It is a model of, it is model on the Islamic banking.
Yeah.
What's the name? Phenomenon.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm saying, we could all of us look at some banks, take two, 3 banks in Ghana. If you want to recapitalize NIB or say CBG, these are the new banks. Why can't you sit down with the central bank, agree with the central bank, and say that, look, for this is the policy we are looking at. In trying to push or show up the operations of this bank, we are trying to give them a rate that will be what? Very accommodating to the businessman. I don't know if that can be done. The economists will have to help us. Then if government puts a policy, if you can't do all bank holistic, give them that autonomy, and then run it as a government state entity and say that, look, yes, interest rate is 27%, but we are looking at you doing well as a bank, therefore pushing businessmen towards you. Yeah. CBG and NIB, let's see how you can do 15%.
Yeah.
So that the importer who needs loan to go and clear his goods would not actually go to where he will go for 27%. He will come there. Look, in a case, people are outside. They are not traditional. I mean, they are not traditional bankers. I mean, traditional banks. However, they give loans.
Yeah.
I know people who give loans for people to go and clear their goods in the port and everything, and they take 50%.
Yes.
50%. And if you don't pay, what betides you? And that 50% is going to be transferred to the consumer.
That's true.
And we are comfortable. We are good to go.
And our movement for change.
And we are moving. So I think that, look, to be honest with you, find brains in this country. Great brains. The academics are there. And stop this rhetorics, we will never, ever, ever move. Right. Finally, on arbitrage, let me tell you, all this forex market and whatever, for me, Bank of Ghana say is $10.44 now. Just walk outside. The dollar is 12 point something.
Outside what?
Go out to look for the forex bureau. Go to the forex bureau. It's not properly monitored. One. The bank rate tells you it's 10 point something. The man standing in front of airport, when you walk out of the airport, he tells you you have dollar to change. That man there.
Yes, but the Bank of Ghana is regulating with other banks, not at that man.
Look, the Bank of Ghana is supposed to regulate the inflow into the commercial bank. What is the level of monitoring that we give to them to ensure that indeed the money goes to who actually needs the forex? To example, $100,000 to CBG. What in there as a...
Yeah, using CBG.
I'm just giving an example. It's an example I'm giving. I'm not saying they do that. Moves in. Just let Solo, a businessman, move. Look, don't be surprised. Solo will be told that move outside there. Wait. They'll call someone from outside and say, for us, we don't have dollar, but I have a friend who has a dollar. The banks do it.
But they have been giving them the dollar.
That's what I mean. They give it to them. They trade with it. That's the arbitrage I'm talking about.
Where is the national security?
So there is a question. It's $1 million question. And I think that the economy is actually suffering because of some of these dishonesties, which is our problem. And look, let me tell you, no government can solve it. Whether MPP, NDC, when you come, that thing works and they benefit from it. So you don't even understand. No, this is a problem. You see a politician doing nothing. He doesn't even have a job. That politician is not honest and confront issues head on. We will never be there. And Singapore example we give, The Singaporean Consul General to Saudi Arabia was a very good friend of mine. In fact, when we go for diplomatic meetings, he was a very close friend of mine. He tells me, Kamal, we are so disciplined in our country.
Oh, yes.
That's what he told me. He said, we're so disciplined. Everybody is satisfied with what he has. Contentment is what it is. Here, people want to build 100 houses and come and brag about 100 houses and don't even have titles on the houses. What impunity is that? People have 200 houses.
Who are you referring to?
I am saying that this is a serious matter. Meanwhile, you should have a title.
Mention a specific number of houses.
No, please. I've not mentioned anybody. I'm not citing anybody. People have attack notice. People, look, they are enjoying goodwill now. Therefore, you can say whatever you want to say. And let's give these people up to the next Christmas. I heard the financial. He said they are working towards single day.
So let's stick into the.
But let's hope so. Anyway, I mean, whatever that comes, it's good for all of us. But I'm saying that look, the fundamentals must be looked at properly. To advise this government, come and confront the matters head on. Tell us by next Monday you are announcing the importation of chicken down. Tell us by this Monday, hey, local rice alone is what we're going to purchase on our shelves.
Are you not asking too much of a 6-month-year-old government, something you could not do in 8 years?
I'm helping you to govern. You said you want a responsible opposition, a position that will give you better critiquing. And I'm saying that it is proper that you ban certain importations. But sadly you are spending 300 million to import 43 pads.
But why
to give to students?
Why did you not do it? If you know this is what would...
That is why we are voted out. So you have come. You are the better alternative. Do it.
Fantastic.
As simple as that. As simple as that. No, if you say why didn't you do it, we did what we could. Ghanaians are not satisfied with what you have done. They have changed it. NDC were there before 8 years ago. They suffered a heavy defeat. You understand what I mean? So I'm saying that if Ghanaians think that you are not the best at that moment, they will change you. When they change, you do the best.
But if Ghanaians think you are not the best and they change, what makes you think your advice is the best then?
Maybe I didn't see the mistake. I have seen the mistake now.
Okay.
But who's going to allow that when the money change is coming?
Maybe you haven't seen it. Maybe I didn't see the mistake, so I've seen it, and I'm telling you, this is the mistake I committed. Also do that. So look, ban importation of rice now. Don't allow the businessmen to do it. Ban importation of non-essential goods. Toothpick, toilet roll, all those. We don't need them in this country. You understand? Go to Kantamanto. Go and see the bills of used clothing. Sometimes the stench is you can't even walk around.
Right.
This is dead bodies' clothes. Somebody has worked to sell to you, and your economy is suffering on that. Zimbabwe were able to ban it. We can do it.
We can do it.
I think that's basically what it is.
So Section 15 of the Foreign Exchange Act states that, and I'll read the subsection 51. It says, each payment in foreign currency to or from Ghana between a resident and a resident or between two non-residents shall be made through a bank. It's clear. Where payment should be made through a bank. Now we are hearing here that there are people standing and they are determining the rates in the economy. How do we clamp this down to make sure that when the central bank says that the rate is 10?
You know, there's always going to be a difference between what you call the interbank rate. You understand? Because that's the rate used by banks, as opposed to the forex bureaus, which are largely retail in nature. But I am surprised at how other countries are able to enforce their laws on access to currency other than the host country's currency. You understand? So you go to South Africa, in other jurisdictions, and in most jurisdictions, you have to produce your passport, you have to... There's a litany of things and justifications why. So if you don't buy it at the airport where you are arriving, where it's, I think the most relaxed atmosphere probably is at the airport.
The airport.
You understand?
That's the Forex Bureau. You have to show a lot of documentation.
Exactly. You know? So Ghana, I think, is one of the most liberal countries when it comes to how you can access Forex, how you can... And it has an inflationary effect, you understand? Because obviously, if there are competing currencies with your currency, you understand, it means you are not spending with your currency. So how does your currency gain strength? You know? And it gets worse. You see, so Ghanaians have gotten used to the point where we realize that, look, our currency is so fragile. We hedge our savings against a certain expectation that your currency will fall.
Yeah, that's true.
You understand? And that is one of the things that has hurt our economy, because it means that a large number of Ghanaians, especially the middle class, because they want to at least save the value of their savings, now decide to save in the foreign currency. Our politicians, whatever, you understand, also do that for political campaigning and all that. If we want to really change, then probably we have to take very drastic measures, you understand? But you also have to be careful not to undermine confidence in the system. No, see, it's a practical thing. Anything you do that restricts access to the ability to, or the availability of forex, for example, for people who have, at one time we got so desperate we decided to restrict access to even withdraw from your own accounts. So those who have had forex accounts, and you know that because we are a largely importing country, you can't prevent the traders from having access. If you do that, it will cause inflation. You understand? It's a careful balance. That's where you have to start. I mean, where government can exercise control, such as contracts. Government is the biggest player in the contract field. You understand? The biggest purchaser, spender. For the word is spender out there. Yeah. And the government insists that all contracts that we sign, is permitted to sign any contract in, you understand? It means that you are literally strengthening your currency. And it becomes, as you see, because the CD has strengthened, a lot of people don't even see why they should have their monies in dollars. So a lot of people have now shifted to local investments, you understand? Like fixed deposits, you understand? Treasury bills, and that strengthens your... What is important is our ability to sustain the gains that we have done. Correct. And not go back, you understand? Because if we're able to do that, naturally, your currency becomes stable. You understand? So whatever it is that we have done so far, what we need to do is to find ways of ensuring that it is sustainable. Right. So that our economy is strengthened. I mean, if we're able to have a predictable bandwidth, you understand, as you were citing Dubai, over the past maybe 5-6 years, they have not moved beyond 3.8, the 3.6 to 3.8 bracket. You understand? It makes it easier for you to plan. You understand? So we want to encourage the economic management team that moving forward, these are the policies that we want, even at our ports. You understand? And all that. A deliberate government policy to ensure that slowly but surely, people themselves, Ghanaians, when we feel that, when we get, because most of the time it doesn't work. Especially when you have a very stubborn and a very, that point is Ghanaians have also come to the point where they just try extra. We have to fight with government until we are able to get any salary increases. So the little that we save, or the little money that, so the little that they will gather, you understand? You erode it when your economic policies don't make it sustainable for them to keep the money in cities. But where you are keeping, or you are ensuring that the stability on the currency front, right, just like we are doing now, right, you encourage people to even put their monies into the banking system, because after all, why would I keep them? Exactly. I might as well release it to the banks. Right. You understand?
Viewers, Solo will be taking leave of us irregularities. So we would have a display on the screen showing a breakdown of the irregularities. And then we would zoom into a few of the areas. So Solo, probably I'll start with you. And this probably might be a general and a sweeping comment, but is the politician really the problem? Because politicians come and go. We've had NDC come, NDC go. We had President John Ajay Kufuor come, go. President John Evans Atamos come, go. President John Mahama come, go. President Nana Addo come, go. President John Mahama now in. So administrations keep changing. These issues that the Auditor General keeps picking, keeps recurring. These irregularities, this wastage keeps recurring. Is the politician the problem? Or is our technocrats and professionals who are working behind the scenes the problem, but are hiding behind politicians, and the reason why we are always experiencing these kind of irregularities?
So I will still put the blame on the politician, because the politician is the one that is managing the technocrats.
Right.
You see, our inability to crack the whip is the problem. You cannot tell me that in 2020 you had an irregularity of about 12 billion, in 2021 17 billion, in 2022 15 billion, in 2023 8 billion, and in 2024 was it 18 billion. And as we speak, people go to the Public Accounts Committee, we watch them, the sort of answers that they provide right there immediately after answering the questions, they are supposed to be paid by the national security. People must be thrown into jail.
Is that how movement of change would
No. You think the lives of Wunjumi will be walking, parading? You think those who have stolen from this country will be parading themselves? You think Sidney Tamaklo, who is in the US, who has been convicted of having stolen 70 million, will still be there? You think Ken Oforiatta will be having the luxury of telling you and I that I'm chilling in Mayo Clinic? Will be there?
He's receiving treatment.
Which treatment? Have you seen him? Have you seen him?
But have you seen him chilling?
Ah, my goodness. I saw him in Forest Palace. What? Kaya, the taxi driver, the truck drivers, common teachers, you and I, we swear to pay taxes. And when we do, these people, they just take the monies and then spend it. This country, only lifestyle audit would expose a lot of people. Just go to people's properties, ask them, we know your salaries. How were you able to put up these structures or properties? Come and tell us that you won a lottery, and let's see the receipt. We know them, but the society has endorsed people that have money. Now go to church, even the way they pray for you, if your money is not more, your prayer is different. It's undertone.
I agree.
So what sort of life, I mean, we know that people are stealing, yet we eulogize them. We eulogize them. And that's why they do things with impunity. And that's why I don't support any fiscal, tax increases. Because if you look at these figures, I understand that Auditor General is saying that about 15.6 billion is recoverable. I don't know how much we were able to recover in the previous years for him to have that confidence.
But we always say this amount is recoverable.
It is not true.
We never
they
recover.
will tell us just to go ahead and don't let anybody deceive you that it's just lack of proper internal control. They have stolen the money. They have stolen the money. Nobody's going to take this always, it is just inconsistency with documentation. No, they have stolen the money. Are you not surprised? How much do civil servants receive in this country? But go to the whole of Accra, everywhere someone is building. But we are always complaining that we don't have money. Now you don't intrigue you. Not just Accra. Go to other regional capitals. The last time, because they have been, when I was living there, the whole place, a lot of bushy areas. But now,
it's been cleared.
And all of them are civil servants. They have contributed to this 18.41 billion irregularity you are talking about.
Let's look at that on the electricity. Maybe that will be your last
And
step.
there, that is where the meat is.
So let me read. So then you talk about the meat. The right budget disclosed that the actual expenditure for 13 budget line items amounting to 333 million exceeded their budget amount of 144 million by 189 million. That is how much they exceeded the budget, 189 million Ghana cedis.
189 million.
Yes. The audit also noted that the excess expenditure was not approved by the company's board. So this was an excess that was not approved by the board. It was just by management overspending.
But let me tell you, these are even conservative figures. Because if you understand audit, the entity gives its financial statement to the auditors too, as it will go through. So they audit of them. They say contrary to, they claiming that they were receiving less amount,
It was estimated that they were collecting 15 billion, they were declaring to the people of this country 10 billion, and they were rather making available to the cash waterfall mechanism only 6.5 billion. You ask yourself, where are the differences?
In addition,
yes.
they were even supposed to be pay an amount of 70 million as taxes to GRA, which was not paid.
This one is not even serious. This one is not even serious enough. They made a payment of 75 million Ghana cedis to hotel without a contract. Yes. Who does that? The same thing happened with the National Cathedral. That's why I've called on the OSP to prosecute Adekufado for paying David Ajay for not having a contract.
Say, let's do on course.
You had the former board chair.
Speak to the matter and stop.
You had the former board chair. You were deceived by the money.
I am the law here.
You see?
Yes.
The former board chair of ECG, when he was the board chair, he knew that they were stealing. People were doing connection, but he did nothing about it. You understand? That is the situation. ECG is a crime scene. But why must we be paying for their inefficiencies? I believe that this administration, together with the national security, every corruption agency must move swiftly into ECG. Other than that, we are going to continue to pay higher prices for electricity. We are only servicing their inefficiency. And it's so sad. It is something that has been there. Look, procurement alone, and every procurement that is done by ECG is inflated by a factor of 100.
So you mentioned the cash waterfall mechanism.
Yes.
So it's on the screen.
Yes.
The audit team also reviewed the cash waterfall mechanism report and noted that ECG declared total revenue of 8.6 billion, but paid only 7.3 billion to the various state-owned enterprises and independent power producing companies, leaving a balance of 1.2 billion, which has not been disbursed.
This one is even a conservative figure. Go and take the PricewaterhouseCoopers audited report, and you see clearly the sort of damage that the electricity company of Ghana has been doing to the people of this country. That politicians who are there to take the right decisions are not taking.
And it says, the audit again disclosed that management under declared revenue collected by ECG by 2.95 billion in its 2023 revenue collection report submitted to the minister and other authorities. So even in declaring its revenue, like you mentioned, it understated the revenue by 2.9 billion.
But well, you know, in this country, does it not surprise you that someone goes to lobby for a position, managing director of ECG, Dubik, he says, I've resigned, personal reasons. Gajapu says, I've resigned, personal reasons. And the people of this country are not bold enough to ask them, why were you resigning? These are their works. Someone has stolen fowl, he's in Sawam. Someone has stolen plantain, he's in Sawam. Aponche is in fowl. We are talking about billions of Ghana cedis. And the reason why your city is not stable, if all these billions are in the hands of wrong people, what would they do with it? They just go and change it into dollars and hide it under their beds, like in the days of what? Cecilia Dapa. I will end it here, but what I will say is that this country belongs to all of us. We are setting a very bad precedent. We are not giving future to the young on one generation and our children. They will go back with all these to go and queue at the U.S. Embassy. They will be banned day in and day out. Hope will be lost if we don't begin to reverse some of these things.
Thank you. So, viewers, we will be taking a quick break. Within the period, Solomon will take leave of us. And when we come back, we will delve more into this issue about the Auditor General's report. We'll be right back.
Meet Kwame. He's not just any Kwame. He's Kwame the TV license legend. Kwame knows that by paying his TV license, he's supporting GBC, our public service broadcaster, and he's making a real difference. Kwame's contribution helps bring our communities closer together. Because of Kwame and others like him, we will all have access to amazing TV programs educational content, plus broadcasting infrastructures are maintained and our culture is beautifully promoted. So GBC is asking all to respond to this civic obligation and pay your TV license fee. For individuals, it's 3 CDs per month or 36 CDs per year. If you have multiple sets, meaning 2 or more in your household, it's 60 CDs per year. For commercial institutions, it's your number of TV sets by 36 CDs per year, and you pay the invoiced amount directly to GBC. So let's all take a moment to appreciate Kwame, the TV license legend. Wherever you are, just dial *447*333# and follow the prompt. It's your civic duty, so pay your TV license today. GBC, the authentic and trusted voice of Ghana.
In a world where clean water and effective waste management are crucial, where well-designed roads and drainage systems are vital, where is Ghana positioned in her urban development? What efforts are stakeholders making to ensure that our urban cities are livable? Join me and the professionals as we delve into the root causes and examine practical solutions, raise awareness, drive change, and strive for a cleaner and safer environment that can impact our daily lives. Watch Public Concern on GTV this and every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Public Concern, the urban agenda.
The 59th Annual Convention of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Community United Kingdom. A global convention promoting peace, brotherhood, and unity across the world. Attended by over 40,000 people in 2025. On GTV at the following times: 1:30 to 5 o'clock p.m. on Friday, 11 o'clock to 2 o'clock p.m. on Saturday, and 11:30 to 5 o'clock p.m. on Sunday.
Meet Kwame. He's not just any Kwame. He's Kwame the TV license legend. Kwame knows that by paying his TV license, he's supporting GBC, our public service broadcaster, and he's making a real difference. Kwame's contribution helps bring our communities closer together. Because of Kwame and others like him, we will all have access to amazing TV programs, educational content, plus broadcasting infrastructures are maintained, and our culture is beautifully promoted. So GBC is asking all to respond to this civic obligation and pay your TV license fee. For individuals, it's 3 CDs per month or 36 CDs per year. If you have multiple sets, meaning 2 or more in your household, it's 60 CDs per year. For commercial institutions, it's your number of TV sets by 36 CDs per year, and you pay the invoiced amount directly to GBC. So let's all take a moment to appreciate Kwame, the TV license legend. Wherever you are, just dial *447*333# and follow the prompt. It's your civic duty, so pay your TV license today. GBC, the authentic and trusted voice of Ghana.
Right. Welcome back, viewers. Welcome back to Current Agenda. As announced before, Solomon had to take leave of us. So we are continuing with the discussions. Okay, I understand he will join us, but let me come back in studio. So, Nipapo, I'll pose the same question I posed to Solo. Are we fighting a never-ending war? Because we seem to suggest that these challenges, it's more cultural, it's us. We as a people encourage and eulogize corruption. And so in its simplest form, even without the politician, the average Ghanaian is looking at What is it in it for me? And with that thinking, how can we do away with this and sing the same praise we are singing about Singapore and the rest in Ghana?
You know, every country has its cultural dynamics, you understand? And so what you want is probably, the ideal is the zero situation, but that's the ideal. What you want is to bring down the levels of corruption. And you know, in Ghana, our biggest problem is procurement corruption, you understand? When we are in opposition, you sing the song that single sourcing is a devil's what have you, and that it's the reason why it's the mother of all forms of corruption. And yet when you come into power, your song changes. You need a commitment, you understand? And that's what I think President Mahama represents. In the past 8 years, and I know Kamal will disagree with me, which is his right, but if the election results bear us out, what Ghanaians, and even history, you understand, what Ghanaians abhor is the in-your-face level of corruption, you understand? The naked, and so if you look at our history, what has led to coups, what has led to revolutions, what it's the Ghanaians' abhorrence, you understand, for in-your-face possibility to rid a system of corruption when you have human beings in that system, you understand. Normally when you take out the human interface and you digitize the system, even that, when you look at what we are getting from the National Service scandal, there is always a human incentive for corruption. So what you do is to take away the incentive, you understand. And I believe that it's not just about the setting up of the offices, but it's about a national commitment from the leader, and as President Mahama is doing, where he's published a code of ethics for his appointees, where he is indicating, and I'm not saying that any government is made up of angels, you understand, but it is the ability to prosecute your own, you understand, and at the same time hold what we call regime accountability.
Right.
That is how you are able to get the politically exposed persons to account, as well as go after the civil servants. Right. You understand? The public servants, because you'll be surprised that sometimes a lot of the schemes are cooked by public servants together with the police who have never went in any ministry, any public department or agency, walk into an office. Who are the ones who show them where to sign, exactly, where the areas are there? Because it's the people who have worked in the place for 20 years, 25 years, 30 years. So whatever.
I mean, I remember the famous in travel, and it's one like that. It was told that, yes, okay, no, the famous Chinga, you have to sign for, yes. Some
you might do a very cosmetic attempt at fighting corruption without going to agree on this. But for me, if I compare the last 8 years, you understand, to what President John repeating, that no government is made up of angels.
We have information.
Oh, please relax. That's why you have. That's why you see. That's why you have the agencies. You understand? You have a duty where you decide to hold on the information and use it at the time you feel is legitimate, maybe for political reasons. But if you have the climate that you have now, where the special prosecutor is going after, public or former public officials, and it's easier, as I always say, to hold regime accountability than your own to account. But if you have information that somebody is doing something wrong, I think that the climate now is very friendly for you to be able to get segments, clear any appointee that has been accused of any form of wrongdoing. I'm coming. You will go through the system. And recently, the Attorney General, 2 7 what do you call it? National officers of our party have been asked to submit themselves to an investigation process.
That's, I mean, your national, I think,
to an investigation process,
and then,
based on an allegation.
Right.
You understand? I prefer that system to a system where, when you see, there's a certain, I would say, zero tolerance. Oh, you see, how can that be clearance?
Okay.
When the person was subjected to...
I'll come back to you. I understand Dr. Odosa has joined us online, so I'll come back for you to say. So, Doc, earlier my question to you was on the, because you've been in other department, you were the Director General, to understand, and I'm sure I'm getting some comments from viewers also here asking that, is there any hope? Because 2020, 12 million, 2022, 15, 2023, 8, 2024, 18. Is there any hope?
Thank you very much. There is hope. We should not throw our hands in the skies and say that there is no hope. But definitely there is hope. Now, let me explain something. The certain statutory institutions, annually, the public sector is classified into public bonds and statutory institutions whose audit report we are seeing. There is also the Metropolitan, Municipal and District Assemblies audit. There is also the District Assemblies Common Fund audit. There is also the Ministries, Department and Agency audit. There is also the Pre-University Educational Institutions audit. And there is also the Public Institutions and Colleges of Education audit. So if you want to see the quantum of irregularities across the public sector, we have to aggregate the irregularities reported by the Auditor General in all these sectors. I want to agree with Nick Pakpo that, you see, the challenge of our country, I will not blame politicians that much, because there is some jargon in public administration that technocrats and some public officers see themselves as permanent government. In fact, some call themselves permanent government. Politicians are seen as temporal government. And I can tell you that it is some technocrats who, they come into the office, they don't know the loopholes. It takes these administrators, it takes these technocrats to be able to support them, to do what they need to do. No politician signs checks. And I want to emphasize, no politician signs checks. Checks are signed in public administration by the financial controller and the chief director. Politicians don't sign. So if there is a corrupt activity, you may say that the politician may have approved it, but the politician normally approves it on the advice of a senior officer who may be the chief director or head of administration. The politicians, we should zero on to the administrators who teach the politicians what to do and how to steal, and who also are a cast across government. So it should tell us that something is happening in the administrative sector. No, let me come back to the report. Let us congratulate this Auditor General, because I must say that I have been in internal audit, and I can tell you that generating even one report annually is difficult across the public sector. He has been able to generate all these reports, and he submitted it on time. In discussion, we have a financial report and a performance report. The performance report gives an indication of our failure to apply with standards, procedures, and policies in the public sector. That one, I hope one day your show will dedicate it to the discussion of performance auditing conducted by the Auditor General. But today, we are talking about the financial audit. Let me say that the irregularities you projected, reported on public operations, shows an increment of 109%. The whooping figure suggests that there's something wrong with the public, you break the irregularities down. Outstanding debt and loans, recoverable loans, tops the list. It should tell us something. When you go percent of the 18 million irregularities, 18 billion irregularities can be recovered. Question then is, why are we not recovering? only 15% arises as a result of administrative lapses. What it means is that control weaknesses, we need to tighten the system. But even if we are able to recover this 84%, we'll be able to make a headway. When you go into details, he's telling you that agency debt. And this is one area we have not been able to resolve. I think before I left office, I realized that it was a big issue. How is it that UCG can owe Ghana Water Company have a simple forum to balance off or to knock off their debts? So that if ECG owes Ghana Water 100 million and Ghana Water owes ECG 150 million, you knock off and allow Ghana Water to pay only 50 million. Then you clear it from the books. This is a common platform that the Minister for Finance can create so that this interagency debt can be knocked off. Without that, it will continue to happen. And then also overdue receivables. Overdue receivables means people owe public institutions, they are not paying. Why are we not chasing them to pay? Political interference. So if we don't look at the totality of all of this, every year we will come back to this table and talk about irregularities. Let me summarize this for you so that we come back to the studio. In as much as the irregularities in public institutions like public corporations and SOEs have increased, let us give credit where credit is due. When you look at that of the MDAs, that of the MDAs has reduced, ministry, department and agencies, it has reduced by 19%, which is good. We wish it will be 0%. Metropolitan.
The network? I think the network is we'll try and establish connection again, but back in Martin.
Yes.
Sorry. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Doc.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Doc. Can you hear me?
I'm saying that the other serious one is the management of the District Assembly's Common Fund, which has increased from 49 million jump. And then when you come to the pre-university educational institution, which is very important for me, because that is where we have the future generation, the pre-SHS.
We'll come back to Doc. Ni, so my apologies for interrupting your flow. So
Yes, you did.
Yes.
Yes. I'm investigative bodies, you understand? Especially the creation of the Office of the Special Prosecutor was a novel attempt to deal with the problem that we all in the political space felt the Minister of the Attorney General, because especially where we felt that politically exposed persons and corruption-related matters would be difficult to fight when you have another politically appointed person leading the charge. So then you create that special office, you understand? Has it been enough? I say that, internal regime accountability, you understand? Thank you for the word, internal regime accountability. I think that is what we have been missing. Because when there's a change of government, there's always regime accountability. It's almost automatic because you get the investigating bodies investigating various allegations and all that. What I've found missing is structures that have been put in place to hold appointees, you understand, accountable. I see President Mahama as having no appetite, president that wants to make the impact that he wants to make us.
He doesn't have a second term too.
He doesn't have a second term. So there are no sacred cows, as I always say, within this regime. If you misbehave, the axe will fall. The Office of the Chief of Staff wouldn't waste time, and recently, just for taking a military person to, a program, 14 days suspension. You understand? So yes, everybody is waiting, and the thing is, I am not the kind of person that wants to wait for my fellow ability to fail, so that will be used as but where you see that if you make the mistake and your name comes up, you are likely to face the full. It's that alone is preventive. You understand? So I'm hoping that as Kamal said, the opposition and others will play the role that is expected, where they will also, where there's evidence, you understand. It's not enough to make a wild allegation, but make an allegation that you at least have something to back it with, just so that you don't smear simply because maybe Kamal is not my friend. I look at it and I say, Kamal, this white up and down your way is bold or is a product of corruption. That would not be fair to him. But if there's evidence that Kamal just got into office 6 months ago and has already bought a house at this thing for $5 million, which is it does not go with his source of income. That is a clear case where you will now be able to move forward. So if we get something like that, you understand, I doubt and shudder to think that President Mama will look on and say, no, don't go through the process of investigation. But we are able to have examples of both internal, regime accountability and, the outgone regime accountability. Because as President Mama, the easiest form of regime accountability is when somebody is out of power and then you are holding the past. But when yourself and your appointees, you are able to hold them to account, then I think we will be making progress.
Thank you. Martin, let me come to you. So on where he ended, now he made mention of, he used Kamal as an example. And Dr. Udosai also said similar. I think is the reason why these people, and I'm asking you to speak from the point of view of an accountant, from the point of view of an economist. What is the difficulty in alternating these people at different ministries? When you get too comfortable at one place, you get family. Would that not control it? If it's the salary you earn, we see where you live, the cars you drive, the GRE can start asking you questions, the Auditor General can, will this not help solve the situation?
Those are measures that, when they are control mechanisms and measures that when we put in place and adopt, can at least help to mitigate or bring the levels down near periods where irregularities relative to our finances become very high at those high levels. And it tells you something. When you're in government 8 years, you don't know your fate. If you're going to opposition, you don't know your fate. At least let me get some reserves so that in opposition where I'm not sure that I'll be getting some monthly income and contracts somewhere, I can stay for 8 years and then.
That means you are narrowing that to all the politicians.
Whilst I agree with whilst I'm in during periods of election, and the only analysis and deduction you can make from that is it a case that the politician and together with the civil servants, knowing that they are not too certain about their fate, can I make some count that? That's why you see, when you look at the trend, very enormous in the year 2024, telling you something. But when you zero down to the issues too, you see that out of the $18 billion irregularities, I'm hoping 86% was basically in the energy sector. About 15.6 billion were irregularities that happened in the Ministry of Energy. And the number one agency that dominated the issue is ECG. And when you zero, and that is why we need to.
Can we have the ECG projections on the screen again?
So it's out of 18 billion, 15 billion alone is coming from one ministry. That it means that we need to focus on that sector. That sector and deal with the ills that emanate from it. Now, what came to bear is one, you look at the trajectory of ECG and you notice that one, the loss that they make yearly is growing and it's due to great procurement projects that they've started without completing them. You see that they have huge receivables with government agencies which are not being paid. You also see that when you collect these CDs and want to pay, then any fluctuations in the SA will impact their business. They make massive loss on FS as well. You and I have to pay a CD to address these 15 billion debts that was accumulated.
CD on
every liter.
Yes.
That we are paying for this debts that has been accumulated in the energy sector. Not that alone. Every quarter, as part of the IMF program, to bring some fiscal prudence in our finances, there's the need for quarterly review of what what's the name, utility tariffs, to be able to tackle those ills, that's fiscal risk that is emerging from the energy sector. Right. So I'm telling you that people have looted money and have gone with it, but you and I that have no business with that has to pay taxes, 1 cedi on each petroleum that we buy per liter, and also quarterly reviews in the utility tariff to address this thing. I don't think that the punitive measures as enshrined in our laws are being largely enforced and are not that deterring, such that people believe that. That's why I was not happy with the recommendation by the Auditor General, where there was some money in the financial sector and they are supposed to pay only 60%, and then they remain that is not. You see people stealing basic commodities like cassava, goats, they go into jail for 15 years. But you are looking at 18 billion. I'm telling you, many of these people don't go to jail. They'll go through the back door, see politicians, and then sort their ways out. And that has been the canker and the kind of disaster we are facing as a country. I want to see. 30 seconds. So my expectation is that, as Nick mentioned, His Excellency has a mandate to deliver. There's hope in him. The expectation is that he will bring to book both that we can recoup all the necessary influence. Can you imagine? We are going for a $3 billion ECF facility from what's the name? IMF. In today's exchange rate terms, that will give you only about 30 billion. But the loan is about 18 billion than IMF. So we have the solution here. But corruption has been a bane. That has derailed all the efforts of this country. And that is where we are today. The expectation is that
Come on. Yes, Martin, from where he ended is where I'm going to take off.
So come on, 2 minutes.
So take off. Yeah, quick one.
Yes.
Corruption, Martin cites it, and yet if we should look within ourselves, properly and prudently so, do what is expected of us, we don't even need to go to the Bretton Woods institutions for any support. And I could not have agreed with him the more when he says that. Year on year, we've had Auditor General's report. I'm surprised we've taken it from 2020 to 2024 alone.
It's because of the screen size.
Perfect. Look, NDC 1, NDC 2, MPP 1, MPP 2, take it and see year on year, it has always been irregularities upon irregularities from all Auditor General's reports, which set up the Auditor General's office. When you take it, Article 187 Clause 7 thereabout, it tells you how auditing is supposed to be done and how disallowance is going to be done, how surcharging ought to be done in case somebody is spending money. All this has been prescribed in our laws. But the point I want to make, after Parliament debates this report and Parliament set up accounts through Accounts Committee, now call people before them to come and explain or defend whatever findings that the Auditor General had made, what next? Again, what Martin said, people go to lobby and we keep quiet. So I am thinking that it is an attitudinal problem. Look, we've seen these 5 figures on that screen. Trust me, they have so many different words. So you see, we come and once again to my talk earlier on, we are a nation of talkers. GBC calls me to come and sit down and we talk about these figures. We go on, we call Dr. Osai, who is an expert to comment. We talk about it, we talk about it, we are gone. Next. Tomorrow, what's the next topic? Then we start again. It's going to move into polarization where NDC will come in and people will come in. Me will support John Mahama, I will also support Akufo-Addo. And we go on and on. Or I will support Dr. Bawumia, or I will support Kennedy Japan, or I will support whoever. That is how we've reduced this country to. We are in a country where even the very media who are supposed to serve as the fourth estate of the realm to hold us to it, we don't even regard them. I want to find out the last time, I don't know where I'm starting to be corrected, the last time a budget was given for state media in our budget. That we say that we are going to build a state media like the kind of what we have in South Africa.
This is the state media.
I'm kind of, no, I mean, the state, I'm looking at what you, I mean, you see, when you take the budget of...
I was almost going to end you, but I like what you're saying. So
when you take the budget of
South African Broadcasting Corporation.
Yes.
Okay, or company or whatever, and compare it to our budget, my brother, you cry. There's better nothing.
There's no comparison. You can't compare.
There's not, and people are suffering. How can that media house hold us to it and do proper investigation? All we know is come and put some military men and put some sand there and hold a gun and say we are protecting GBC. The actual work to be done for the state media, we have private people have built it, and then of course, because they have a way to do their businesses at the expense of the state media, nothing is being done. So I am saying, if we had built a strong media that would investigate what we're doing and keep us up to task, trust me, we would have been doing something. Right. Lastly, I want to say that look, the problem is not just politicians alone. The problem actually has to do with what you said. The civil servants who are in there, they are the problem. Politically exposed persons are not the issue. You cited Muntaka issue, I was mentioning Malan Issa issue. There are a couple of them. Go to the ministry. Look, a politician, as soon as you sit on the seat, don't be surprised. They bring you a tall list.
Yes.
These are your allowances. This is what you do. This is what you do. Sign. If you don't scrutinize and you sign, what betides you if you are not careful? You have actually been committed to work with it and ensure that the right thing is done.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. So we have a few messages from our viewers on our social media handles. So I'll read a few of them. So it says, good morning, bro. This media budget is nothing but create, loot, and share among the top officials within the government. This is from Richie Market Circle Takrady. From Nazi Teshi, we don't really need salary increments all the time resulting in strikes, but goods and services decrement rather. That is another way of increasing salaries. Okay, Nazi. From John Yalmon, John says, very good discussions. One of the panelists is talking about building materials being reduced. Kojo, a bag of cement is between 118 and 120 Ghana cedis as we speak. It was 105 and 108 previous. Okay, so that's from John Yalmon in Boga. From John also from Kumasi, he says, good morning to you and your people. Please, if the government decides to stop importation of rice and chicken, it won't help because Ghanaian farmers cannot feed us and eventually we will all die. We all don't want to die. Kojo also from Santana at Choco, he says, if people are not in the car, they see a mistake. When they get the power, the first thing is that the money is there. Okay, the first, let me take this. The first is that the money there changes their mind to do wrong things all over their term. I'll never trust any politician, including my own father. That's Kojo from Santana Achoko. From Eric Yalmon at Kenya, he says, Solomon Usu, prior to the 2024 election, told us that Dr. Baumia, we disassociate ourselves from any unsubstantiated comments made. What Solo is saying is very true. We say there's no money, but people are building everywhere. Go to Usu, cantonments, etc. You see a lot of apartments that have been empty for God knows how long. If you enter some of them, the staffy smell tells you how long those rooms have been empty. If not all the rooms, I can tell you about 80% are always empty. Now, if that building was constructed with a loan, and there are no occupants because the rent is in USD, hence not affordable, how can the owner pay back the loan? And strangely enough, the owners don't even care that they have empty apartments. Why? Because perhaps the money used for these apartments may have been stolen monies. So they don't feel the effect of the buildings not yielding profits. Why should we rent apartments in USD? That is me in Adabraka. The last one, Selassie Sorakope says, it's not true that the politician is be saved from corruption and corruption allegations to the doorsteps of the public or civil servants. The politicians per our institutions are the only persons that approve expenditure. This is not technically correct. Dr. Sai has mentioned it, and I think Mitapo has also corrected it, that it's the technocrats and the professionals who sign, prepare it, and sign. So let's come back in studio. We will take our final topic. That is on the Kwabna Dufour who have caused our banking sector, for want of a better expression, how the previous government described it, collapse. Why are you causing them to work free? Simply because they are paying 60% of their money. Why are we going into nolli prosequi and saying that cases should be discontinued because people are paying 60% of.
You prosecute with a certain end game in mind. And even all the attorney generals, be that MDC, MPP, have not always prosecuted because you want to jail somebody. You prosecute where you can recover funds that have been lost to the state. And remember, in the law on causing financial loss to the state, it's clear that losses that have been suffered by the state as a result of somebody's actions which have caused a financial loss to the state does not mean that the person has stolen the money. Because what you had was funds you were not able to, or did not use and apply it for the purpose, and were not able to pay back Bank of Ghana. So the state has suffered a loss. And then you go, and so let's be careful. Rather than people would be out there thinking that anytime you talk about causing financial loss to the state, it means that somebody has dipped his hands into government coffers and has stolen government money. You've not convicted anybody in respect of that. What the government sought to do with the setting up of the special investigations team that investigated those issues was to try and recover from the state as much as possible monies that had been given to these banks as liquidity support, and also secondly to hold the shareholders and the management of these institutions accountable. In that same week, Mr. Minaku Bridge Capital, he walked free. The Court of Appeal said he had no case to answer. You understand? So when you're a prosecutor, you need to have a careful balance. Do you get some money back from the state that you consider to be? If you look at the Dr. Atufo's case, at some point, the accused persons, through third parties, not even the accused persons, third parties made to make a refund, not even from the accused persons, but persons, one of the companies. And we walked away from that deal, which would have brought in money to the state. You understand? So you don't go in with if you go in with the prosecutor's mentality to be a persecutor, to obtain conviction at all cost, you get blinded. You have to be careful. You understand?
Educate us on the nolly prosecutor.
Basically, the state enters a notice that it is no longer interested in prosecuting the case. The state actually is not bound. I see, the attorney is not bound to give a reason.
Right.
So that's the established law, all the way to the Supreme Court. Even in recent cases as expert Afoko, Paul Afoko. No, not Paul Afoko, the brother is...
the brother.
Gregory Afoko. The court has been clear. The attorney general does not need to give a reason. So we in the legal practice think it is a positive step when the attorney general seeks to give a reason why. You may disagree with the reason, and I don't blame anybody for disagreeing or seeking to disagree with the reason. But I think that if you disagree with concrete facts.
I mean, I think it makes logic sense that I'm going to court and say I won't go again.
No, hold on. Disagree, my point is disagree, but disagree with what? With concrete facts, okay? So in this case, the Deputy Attorney General issued a statement and said that, look, if we look at the pace of this case, the number of years we spent in court, among others, at the end of the day, we've been able to recover from the activities of the, what do you call it, the appointed administrator, what's the name? They appointed certain persons to take over the banks, you know, and the liquidator. And from the activities of the official liquidator, we've been able to recover about 60% of what we consider to be monies that were lent to the banks. At this point, we believe that if we weigh the interest of finishing the prosecution as against entering the nolly prosequi with respect to, we think that 60% is a threshold. And we said that from their analysis, when they started, they felt that 60% as a target was a good target enough to say that, look, even let's enter into plea bargains where we think that it is. There are some cases that persons were prepared to do plea bargaining with the state. It is allowed under the law. So if we hit a 60% threshold, it's not a bad threshold per se.
Right.
Some may want 80%, some may want 100%. That is the right of all those persons.
Right.
But if I want to look and compare with the fact that I run the risk of letting the person can actually walk scot-free, as in the case of the British capital, and not pay the state anything. And I've been able to recover 60%. You understand? If I'm to do what do you call it? Into something and say that I've been able to save the state something, but of course, it is within the right of everybody to look at it from a different angle and criticize.
Right.
But for me, if you believe that, and of course, because it's a only prosecutorial power, it is an administrative power that the Auditor General has exercised. If you disagree, you can challenge it.
Okay, come on. So this is from what he said, a balance between justice and pragmatism. What's the issue?
If you say you want to build 200 schools, do it. Okay? Do it. You see, and the last one is where I'm going to hinge on. Why? The Akufo-Addo government was bastardized by me and co. People have chopped money, people have done this, people have done that. This banking sector cleanup alone, the kind of bad blood that the Akufo-Addo government attracted, the suffering that they went through in the hands of me and co, you have no idea. Today, foreign banks and whatever who are doing well, they were happy after the cleanup. They thought that they were rather now making more gains in the banking sector because there's some sanity. My point here is that were there wrongs committed as a result of the liquidity support that was given? Answer is in the affirmative, yes.
Right.
And if those wrongs were committed, the people who were supposed to be hauled before the law, were they hauled before the law? Yes.
Right.
Now, the argument we are told to go with is that there is an object called nolle prosequi in the law, and for that matter, if you want, you can go for it, and then you don't need to explain. And if they have chosen to explain, and the explanation is that when you steal 100 cedis, purportedly, and you agree, yes, I have taken the 100 cedi, but I want to return 60 cedi, the 40 cedi, I want to keep it.
Okay.
The Attorney General say, enjoy your 40 cedi boot.
Right.
Really? That is dangerous. So I am saying that, finally, if you want me, you say you have no time.
10 seconds?
Yes. You say politics of it. The NDC should go into whatever they are doing and ask themselves, how many of the people that they are clearing and they are giving the nolle prosequi are belonging to other political parties?
Okay, thank you very much.
It is only NDC people.
Thank you very much. So viewers, thank you for next week I'll invite you. Martin, unfortunately this is political. I'll spare you this one. Thank you very much, viewers. Thank you my panel. Thank you Nipapo, Martin, Kamal, Solo, and Doc who joined online. Viewers, thank you for the comments that came in. Make a date with us next week, same time, 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock.